For a few years in the 1980s and 90s, it was trendy to release third-person shooting galleries in both arcades and on home consoles. Games like Cabal, Nam 1975, and Wild Guns all saw the player running back and forth on one layer, while the enemies popped up in front of them on a completely different layer. One of the craziest examples of this genre is a little-known game called Kaminari Kishi Riot by NMK, an over-the-top science fiction showdown where the enemies not only pop up in front of our action hero, but also behind him. This game is insane in all the best ways, and the explosive conclusion makes it even better. So turn back now if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're gonna spoil the story and ending for Kaminari Kishi Riot. This is Game Over, the early years. So if you're the type of person who wants their action games to, make sense, then Riot is definitely not the game for you. It stars this nameless action hero who narrowly dodges bullets with his tank top and freshly washed blue jeans. He's a bit of a mystery, but we do know that he can shoot down a helicopter from a mile away with a machine gun, and oh man, he's just getting started. We're told early on that this evil-looking dude on the throne is commanding an army of secret warriors who are equipped with both weapons and sorcery. They call themselves the Magic Tigers, but Action Dude, who I'm just gonna call Kishi from here on out, just wants to kick ass. And that is exactly what he does as he fights through a bombed-out base straight out of the Terminator. And now if you're wondering if Riot is going to be that kind of game, then let me draw your attention to RoboCop, who's apparently been impaled by this large red spear. Yeah, buckle up, because we're just getting started. The war zone leads to a jungle river fight, complete with half-naked indigenous people with blow darts. The level ultimately ends with a cave full of death traps, followed by an outer space fight with Satan Yoda. Look, I know you probably have a lot of questions about what just happened, but there's no time for that, because level 2 tosses our hero onto a fast-moving train, where he shoots down helicopters and deals with those sword dudes from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He eventually makes his way inside of one of the train cars, but don't get too excited, because there's a gorilla waiting for us. Believe it or not, this is just a few cars down from mobster Thor, who unleashes his winged henchmen on Kishi. All this is happening in front of a weird seed thing with bodies trying to escape. Yeah, that's probably not a good sign. Thankfully, Action Dude doesn't think much about it, because he knows that the train is heading back to the Magic Tiger's main base. It's here where Kishi battles a crane and discovers that there's a bar right next to the shooting range. What's odd about this level is how normal it is, especially considering that the commander at the end turns out to be a werewolf that sicks his entire pack on you in front of a full moon. Okay, that's weird, but there's no time for that, because the main force is using a fleet of helicopters to get away. Obviously, the only option is to get to the chopper and shoot down everybody else. This is legitimately one of the most exciting parts of the game, and it's clear that the helicopter covers a lot of ground with enemies dropping from all sides. It ends with a fight against 8 well-trained skydivers, which is weird, I'll admit, but considering that you just killed Satan Yoda and a werewolf, this honestly feels like the most grounded part of Riot. We ditch the chopper in the middle of downtown, right in the center of a carnival set up on the rooftop. This leads directly to a multi-level department store filled with colorful clothing, tons of sales, and, of course, Magic Tiger terrorists. This is a neon-filled stage where bad guys are bursting out of almost every window, and I love it. We end up falling down an escalator and through about a dozen panes of glass before running into another gorilla. We shoot it full of holes like before, but this time around, a giant fan blows us through the window and completely out of the building. And I feel like this is a pretty good time to point out that Kishi does a lot of falling in Riot. He fell through a bunch of trees, over a waterfall, down a mountain, and now through all of these signs right on the side of the building. Oh man, the guy just can't catch a break. Anyway, long story short, the pool breaks his fall, and he has to fight a couple of guys in robes who float around in a fetal position and can multiply. Obviously. The good news is that one of the guys in robes survives the beatdown and knows exactly where the leader's mansion is. The bad news is that somebody assassinates him right in the middle of your interrogation. Thankfully, the hideout is in the super obvious building right in the middle of town. Convenient. Now this starts out as a fairly traditional infiltration, but things go sideways when you trigger an elevator that sends Kishi down an alien-looking hole and up against not one, but two gorillas. This is just the developers reusing a sprite they must have worked really hard to perfect. Beyond the lava pits and death traps sits the leader of the Magic Tigers. With a wave of his arms, he ushers in a laser-shooting dragon that fights in front of a giant skull. Without thinking too hard about it, our hero shoots out the dragon's eyeballs and kills the man in charge. And after all that craziness, this is what happens next. Now, if you haven't picked up on it yet, I stopped trying to make sense of this game a long time ago. Who was that bad guy at the end? Why did he have a dragon? What did he want with the department store? Where did he get that amulet? Was he the person our hero buried at the very end of the game? What was the point of watching the grave weather every season? What the hell is going on with this game? The truth is, it doesn't matter. You probably shouldn't overthink it. If they aren't even gonna bother to name the hero and villain, then maybe the details just aren't important. It's just a big, dumb, explosive action game that throws you into increasingly crazy scenarios. And I'll tell you, that's exactly what I love about the game. Where else are you gonna go from fighting Satan Yoda to clobbering a werewolf? It's a mix of weird pop culture references and one over-the-top thing after another. Fight on, you crazy action dude, fight on. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, the early years. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes almost every week. Now here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite third-person shooter? You have like 3 decades worth of games to choose from, so I can't wait to see what you come up with in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow with a review of Heaven Dust, followed by Conglomerate 451, Townsman, and that Double Dragon Kunio-ku compilation. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,